Tonight's our fourth class in this series of 4 on forgiveness. And there's a way in which I have a sense we've been leading up to what we're going to talk about tonight, which is so connecting with and coming into an understanding of what was going on for the other person, that forgiveness just flows. And in terms of nonviolent communication, I think people would say there's nothing to forgive, because everyone is just doing the best they can to figure out how to meet their own needs, how to alleviate their own suffering. And that's a place that we're going to try to step into tonight. And I want to start by reading a poem by Zen Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh that I think calls us into the energy of this level of understanding, of wanting to step into this level of understanding. And again, I just, as always, want to say that there's no should. It's not that you should get to this place that Thich Nhat Hanh is inviting us into. It's just, I think, to open your consciousness to the possibility of stepping into this level of abandoning judgment and abandoning resentment and abandoning whatever it is that distances you from the other person. So just maybe while you're listening, again, don't measure to I should do this or I don't want to do that, but rather just imagining a world where we were all aspiring to step into this level of connection. So the name of the poem is Diffuse Me, and it is from his collection, Please Call Me by My True Names. If I were a bomb ready to explode, if I have become dangerous to your life, then you must take care of me. You think you can get away from me, but how? I am here, right in your midst. You cannot remove me from your life. And I may explode at any time. I need your care. I need your time. I need you to diffuse me. You are responsible for me because you have made the vow, and I heard it, to love and to care. I know that to take care of me, you need much patience, much coolness. I realize that in you there is also a bomb. I realize that in you there is also a bomb to be diffused. So why don't we help each other? I need you to listen to me. I need you to listen to me. No one has listened to me. No one understands my suffering, including the ones who say they love me. The pain inside of me is suffocating me. It is the TNT that makes up the bomb. There is no one else who will listen to me. That is why I need you. But you seem to be getting away from me. You want to run for your safety, the kind of safety that does not exist. I have not created my own bomb. It is you, it is society, it is family, it is school, it is tradition. So please don't blame me for it. Come and help. If not, I will explode. This is not a threat. It is only a plea for help. I will also be of help when it is your turn. So I know that's very strong medicine. And I'm not saying I agree with the terminology of the whole thing. It's just when I'm doing this practice of letting go of resentment, letting go of judgments, it really helps me to have sort of as a North Star the possibility of a world where everyone has this aspiration, right, to help each other, to see all actions, however harmful, as pleas for help, as he said. So I just want to see if anyone wants to share any response to the poem before we jump into the material and practices for tonight on forgiveness toward the other person. Yeah, just jump in.
It sounded to me a little bit like an abdication of responsibility, blaming the other, making the other responsible. I mean, I know it's a poem, but that's how it struck me.
Yeah, I could see it that way also. And what I mean by the consciousness he's presenting is taking us beyond that, is he's coming from this consciousness that we really all are one. That there's a line in there about like the safety that you're looking for doesn't exist. And for me, it's kind of the idea that I'm not really safe unless everyone is safe. So, and yeah, I hear that too. Anybody else want to share any response to the poem? So I'll just say one more thing. My understanding of Thich Nhat Hanh and his teachings is that he has stepped out of the paradigm of victim, perpetrator, aggressor, victim. That rather he wants to live in a world where we really hold each other responsible for each other, but not from guilt or shame, not from over or under, rather from seeing us as all interconnected. And that helps me in the forgiveness practice, that if there's a relationship that is important to me and someone in that relationship is doing something that I really don't like or that is painful for me, and I don't seem to know a way to break through that, then my choice is, right, to walk away from the relationship or somehow bring myself into an understanding of what they're doing that will feed me to stay in the relationship. And I think that's what he's talking about, that in terms of the whole world, that he wants to live in that quality of relationship to everyone in the world. You know, I'm still working on my own immediate family.
Oh, well, Roberta, you know, I wouldn't call it an obsession with Trump, but what I know, here's what I think. I think that the loathing that I feel for him, about him, and other things are protecting me from much more vulnerable emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually certain of it. I mean, the minute I said that, I'm certain of it. And I don't know, NVC is the concept of protector emotions talked about. Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Okay. So I think it's that there are emotions like what I just described that I feel, that protect me from feeling terror, helplessness, vulnerability. Just complicated. I mean, it's like what I'm thinking is I want to do this work at this point about somebody like him for myself.
Yes, that's so crucial. First of all, to let go of the idea that I would be doing this for him, right? Because that's where you're really like, why would I do that for him? And so to really step back to that, one of the first principles of nonviolent communication, right, is that whatever we do, we're doing to meet our own needs. So
Right.
Can everybody see the screen share? The list, is that up on the?
It's very small.
I know. Is it bigger?
Better.
That's a little better. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's jump in and let's work on Trump for a few minutes. And everyone can substitute whoever you want. But since Karen brought up Trump, who often is like the elephant in the room, like Hitler, is the elephant in the room when you're doing these practices. So first of all, grounding ourselves in our own needs, as Karen just said. Karen, what needs of yours are you wanting to meet, that you could imagine would be met, needs of yours, if you could kind of relax your heart around Trump?
Well, I know that even though I call these, I'm back to the emotions, protector emotions. I think the number one thing is I want to be. I want to live consistent with my values.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So that's probably somewhere encapsulated in this list. And I just want to say, let's everybody use this list. Think of someone who's really, you don't want to let go of whatever you're thinking about them, because as far as you're concerned, they're really causing harm in the world, in your family, to you. We're going to try the hard one tonight. So what Karen said is, yeah, if I could kind of change the landscape of my heart in relation to that person, it brings me, Karen, and me, Roberta, more into integrity with how I want to be in the world.
Actually, Roberta,
yeah,
I'm sorry. It I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to do it for him.
mm-hmm.
I mean, au contraire.
Right.
Frankly.
It's for the world. It's for you. So let me ask you, Karen, look at the first. I'm looking at health.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the toll on our being when we walk around holding energetic tightness and anger and hatred and despise? I mean, I think this is why we started these 4 weeks with really honoring our own needs, because I think our need for self-care is very involved in why we might want to let go of what we're holding. I mean, I think it's toxic.
I think it's toxic, but I want to get back to, there's also some protection that I experience from terror. from, I mean, yeah,
So now you're talking about why you wouldn't want to forgive or you wouldn't want to let go because you
it's a form of protection.
yes, yes. So it's going to be safety on both sides. When we're using nonviolent communication, when I've used nonviolent communication between in conflict situations, whether it's between different groups of people in society or families or different parts of one person's self, almost all the time we see that it's the same needs that can be met going either way, right? So it's safety in letting go of hatred and aversion. That creates a safety for the body and the being, and it also creates a safety to hold on to aversion.
Mhm.
So this is really why we say that connecting around the needs is when we can start to see that we all do want the same thing, right? That it's universal human and universal life energies. So I think that was a little abstract. So I want to go back to what other needs, just, and maybe other people on the call want to share, like when you think of Trump or Lindsey Graham, who today announced that he's introducing a nationwide law to ban abortion after 15 months. What needs of yours could you imagine you would be meeting? Not by giving up on your activism to stop what they're doing, but to kind of reduce at least that's kind of that hatred, that active aversion. What needs of yours? So for me, because I was thinking about this when I was reading about Lindsey Graham today. For me, it's all of these needs under autonomy and authenticity. That when I am so caught in like a focused judgment of badness about someone, my whole thinking gets clouded. That's not where I want to put my energy. I want to put my energy on what can I do to help women get our reproductive freedom back. That's where I want my energy to go. So that's one way for me, that not focusing, like when you take on this kind of resentment and hatred toward one person, it just can grind you down. That's my experience. I'll speak for myself. It can grind me down. It's like I get on this wheel. And so I want to really open up the field of life by embracing as many of these needs as possible. And that happens for me by putting those people just, okay, that's what they're doing. That's what they're here to do. I'm here to do something else. So I find it empowering and freeing. And I love these needs under autonomy: dignity, freedom, independence, integrity. And the reason I wanted to start with this right now is because I think of these needs, the expression, keep your eye on the prize. That was one of the guiding slogans of the civil rights movement. And when I am kind of going into the field of forgiveness and trying to change the way I am relating to someone or thinking about them, I want to keep my eye on the prize. So what is the prize? The prize is my own integrity, or my own safety, or my own health, my own clarity, my own compassion, whatever it is. So these energies of life, these needs of this is what life needs to sustain itself. That was a new quote from Marshall Rosenberg's that I found new to me when I was preparing for this class. That's the prize. and it's my anchor. That is my sustenance. So I want to use those to keep me going. So let's switch and jump in kind of, it's like I'm imagining we're like, crossing through the Red Sea. And on one side, there's our needs and what's important to us. And on the other side is this other person's needs and what's important to them. So just as an experiment, to discover maybe what helps you enter more deeply into compassion and empathy for people who are doing things that you find extremely disturbing. What's your entry or what's your edge, right? This is both super important information for us to know. Where's my edge? Where's my limit? What opens doors? Can you imagine for a moment when Trump is hiding classified documents in Mar-a-Lago? What needs is he trying to meet? I know, but and by needs, it's the kinds of energies that are on these sheets.
Okay, I don't know how this would translate into a need, but it's that I can do anything I want. No one can stop me.
Okay, so that is that's a good starting point. So what I like to work with is something I call a continuum of needs, because I want to keep going until I get to one and my heart opens. So if this person could do whatever he wanted to do, what need of his would be met? That's the inquiry, to keep going. And let me just show you how I work with this in a more, an easier situation, right? The parent comes home from work, goes into the living room, and there's pizza boxes and dirty socks all over the living room. And the parent has taken an NBC class. So instead of "you lazy," blah, 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 the parent's like, "I need cooperation." Right? So that's not going to really motivate whoever socks and pizza boxes are in the room. Or if it does, it won't be from the energy of love and like, "Oh, I get it, mom," right? So the way we work with the continuum of needs is we would say, if her need for cooperation is met, then what need would be met? Rest, beauty, sharing life. Right? So you keep working with these needs until you get to one that opens your heart toward the other person. Because nonviolent communication, working with these words, it's about connection. It's about seeding our hearts with whatever we can so that we open to connection. So I'll throw it back to you, Karen, or anybody else. If Trump had it set up so that he could do whatever he wanted to do, what need of his would that meet?
Being free.
There you go. I mean, we don't know if we're right or not, but this is, again, this work is for us also. Yeah. We give him freedom. Sense of freedom. Celebration. I'm just looking on the sheet. Probably give him a big sense of celebration. And I once heard Marshall Rosenberg say that the needs for celebration and mourning, which are here under meaning and contribution, that those are needs that we really need community to meet. Very hard to meet them on our own. So that's kind of an interesting thing in relation to someone who seems to want a lot of followers. Yeah, need for celebration. I would guess self-esteem. You know, this seems to be someone who, from a young age, seemed to really enjoy being seen as a powerful person in the limelight. Recognition is actually on this, respect. Yeah. So I'm curious, does it affect anyone, or how does it affect anyone to imagine using these needs to generate a different kind of energy toward Donald Trump? Just this kind of reminds me, I've taught this, a variation of this several times on Yom Kippur in Jewish synagogues when people have brought up Hitler. And I stopped doing it. I'm like, I'm not teaching on Yom Kippur anymore.
I don't know how you can compare Trump to Hitler.
Okay, say more.
There's just no comparison. He's not murdering millions of people.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I have a different perspective on Trump than a lot of people because I was in school for most of his tenure and I had to disconnect from the news in order to be a full-time college student.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't follow the hearings that took place over the winter either. So I'm not familiar with all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you this, I'm really grateful to him for the Abraham Accords. I think that was a major breakthrough in the Middle East, which no other president has done. I think it's paved the way for a much more stable Middle East, and Israel now has flying rights over countries that it didn't used to have, and trade and diplomacy with Arab countries that it didn't used to have. I'm also grateful that the embassy has finally been moved to Jerusalem, which every president before Trump, going back to, I think, Nixon, has promised to do, and he's the only one who did it.
So Yael, could you look at this list of needs and say what needs of yours are met by seeing these kinds of political developments that came through Trump?
I mean, I'm aware of the fact that I'm not aware of the full scope of everything that he did. Those are just two things that stood out for me because I have Israeli friends who love him. You know, he was adored in Israel for the things that he did. He also made it formal and official that the Golan Heights is part of Israel, which is
Okay, so hold on. So what I'm asking is that for us to use what you're saying as part of our learning.
Okay.
So when you think about these different policy changes and initiatives,
Mm-hmm.
what needs of yours are met?
Needs of mine?
Yes. Yeah.
Protection for Israel is important to me.
So safety for Israel and
yeah,
safety.
That's about it.
Okay.
That's about it. And I guess I also
Can you
Yeah,
see the list? Do you
Yeah.
have access to the list?
Yeah, I can't see the entire list. It's partly cut off on my screen, but yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's okay.
Better?
Yeah, thank
So
you.
safety. Um, I heard you say he did something that many other presidents had talked about and never done. So maybe you have kind of an appreciation for getting things done. I'm looking at the bottom of that meaning and contribution for skill.
Yeah, I mean, he's
master.
definitely a macher, right?
Yeah, yeah. So maybe it's a kind of a leadership quality that you appreciate.
Yes, and I also, although most other, CEOs of giant corporations and industries have not made it as high up as he did, I don't think he's that much worse than, the CEO of Monsanto, which is now Bayer, or of the EPA, or Anthony
So
Fauci.
I want to just stay a little more focused on the process that we're trying to do here.
So it's perspective. It would be like a sense of perspective, I guess. Is that on the list? Or context, perspective, clarity, maybe?
Of kind of a shared reality with you, of seeing what's important and paying attention to it.
No, Roberta, I don't see my comment about Trump as necessarily relating to NBC. I mainly just reacted to comparing him to Hitler. I mean, let's get real. There's no comparison. He's not building concentration camps.
Hold on.
He's not murdering people.
Okay, so this gets to, there's two processes that I wanted us to look into tonight, to as we approach the idea of forgiveness toward other people. So the first one is being curious about their feelings and needs. So I'm trying right now to just understand what your feelings and needs are in terms of Trump and his policies toward Israel, for example. So that's why
I mean, really, my only feeling and need.
I just want to lay out the whole picture, because I'm trying to read this, and I think there's a lot happening right now. So I'm just kind of looking at the list, and I'm trying to hear what you're saying and what's important to you. And when I was kind of appreciating that there was something about the choices he was making as a leader that were speaking to you, I could feel and safety. I could feel myself being affected. And the purpose for me of doing these processes is so that my heart is affected.
How did it affect you?
Well, I was like, okay, I'm hearing what's important to her in terms of how he conducted policy toward Israel. And how it was affecting me is I could see, well, I'm wondering, I was getting curious about whether there are other ways to meet those needs of yours.
Which needs?
The needs.
Or my needs or Israel's needs?
No, it's your need to, your concern, your need for Israel's safety.
And for the Jewish people's safety.
Yeah.
I mean, Israel is a safe haven for the Jewish people.
Right, exactly. So as I was listening to you, I was feeling myself, like, as I could kind of identify the needs that are important to you beyond the policies, right? I could start to think, okay, yeah, those needs, I can get on board with those needs also. Safety for people living in Israel, safety for the Jewish people. And that's where I want to go in this process. It's like I want to go beyond the positions that people take
Mhm.
beyond what they're espousing, whether it's within a family, they're espousing whatever, or in the political arena. I want to go beyond that to the needs that people are trying to meet, because that's the
Okay, well,
that's the
what need is somebody trying to meet by comparing Trump to Hitler?
great question. Okay.
I
That's
mean,
well, let's ask it. The point of this is to be curious and to put yourself into their shoes, as we heard in the poem, right? Diffuse me. So I think the need would be clarity. Well, in my case, I would say, since I did it, since I said that,
no, you didn't really say it. You said that people say that, or you quoted, you
oh,
said that
no.
people were making that comparison.
Well, let's I can imagine myself comparing, or comparing, or not comparing, not losing my words here. So for me, there is a parallel between using this process in relation to Trump and using this process in relation to Hitler. I see parallels. So what need is met by my seeing parallels? I think it's a recognition that both of those figures really trigger a huge amount of pain, anger, outrage, that both of them stand for things in the world that I certainly am not comfortable with. So I guess why I would compare them would be for discovery, learning. Yeah, I think that.
To like learn lessons from history.
Yeah. Yeah. And also to help me understand strong reactions that people have. So understanding people, not just understanding history, I have strong reactions to both of them. And I want to understand what that's about.
I mean, I guess it would be off topic for me to ask you what parallels you see between them, but anyway, it's okay.
Well, the parallels that interest me in this moment are the ones I just said, that
I see.
These are leading world figures who really generate, very strong reactions all around. Yeah. So that's my interest in doing that. And just notice when you hear that, it's not about comparing what they do, right? That's not, we're trying to enter a different field of human understanding here, of like, how do we get curious about each other rather than separate from each other when difficulties arise. That's what this is all about, right? So I want to go back to, I want to ask you, Yael, because I'm happy to have somebody on the call who has a different view of Trump. I think you can help us create a bigger field of what I would call empathy. When you look at this list, when you think about some of his actions that you are aware of, what needs do you think he was meeting? And this isn't about agreeing or disagreeing with what he does. See, that's the whole point of this. We want to go beyond that field of agreeing or disagreeing with what he does. So my personal activism, what I choose to be involved in, is not about that person. It's about my own values. That's part of what we want to free ourselves, right? So that we are just living our values in the world, not in reaction to other people, right? So I'm just curious, Yael, what.
So the question, I want to make sure I understand your question. You want to know what needs I think he was meeting by accomplishing the three things that I cited?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He probably wanted to fulfill his campaign promises so that he could get reelected.
Okay, and let's use
think,
the
you know,
continuum of needs. So
I think
if he fulfilled his campaign, if he got reelected,
Mhm.
what needs of his would be met?
To go down in history as a two-time president, to amass more power, to think of himself as having reached the top and being successful in his own terms.
Yeah. Self-esteem,
Self-esteem. I think he's got sort of a runaway train of ambition, you know, both negative and positive. There's a ruthless runaway train of ambition that is probably an addiction. It's probably satisfying an addictive urge for power and accomplishment and recognition.
Okay, so just
Yes.
so that we're clear.
I'm guessing. I don't know what makes him tick. I haven't read his biography either.
So I just want to say again that what this list of universal human needs are, and what I find of value in it, is when I think of it as these are the energies, this is what life needs to sustain itself.
Okay, so looking at the list, I'd say achievement, and you already said celebration,
and you
efficacy.
Said competence, right? You were talking.
Yes.
Yeah, but achievement.
Approval, appreciation.
Okay. Yeah, appreciation. Yeah. Appreciation. Yeah, so it's under meaning and contribution. Yeah.
Right, and it's amazing how that can apply to people who are ruthless and destructive, as well as people who are extremely well-intended and altruistic.
Right. So,
like you said, everybody, you know, wants to be effective at their own goals. Everybody wants to reach their goals and achieve their ambitions in life.
Yeah. So let's take this to someone in our lives who we actually are thinking it would be great for me to forgive that person in this month of Elul, leading up to the holidays, which are coming. When let's all of us take a moment and think about something that someone did that affected us. And see if we could get curious about how were they feeling when they did that? And what was the life energy that they were reaching for? What was the pain that they were trying to diffuse, to use Thich Nhat Hanh's language? I think this is the practice that takes us to that consciousness that was in the poem that we started with, which I'll send a link to the poem after the class. when I send out the recording. So what is it that other person was really trying to bring to themselves when they did what they did? Anybody want to do a role play? And I think it's beneficial to either play that person or yourself. And I would be willing to be in the role play and play either person.
I'm game, Roberta.
Is that Barbara? Who's that?
It is. It's
Okay.
Barbara. Mhm.
Great. Okay, thanks, Barbara. So
Sure.
do you want to be yourself or the other person?
I want to be myself.
Okay, so who am I?
You're the other person.
Right. Well, we're going to do a role play, right?
Right.
So am I your sister or,
Friend.
a friend? Okay, I'm a friend. Okay, so let's try this. Let's, as a way of getting enough background so everybody could follow it in role play. Could you start with when this happened and give the observation, and then make a guess about what I, as your friend, was feeling and needing?
Okay, I'm not sure I got all of that. And I'll do that. I'll try my best to do that. What I have a difficult time with is my expectation, which apparently is misplaced or not realistic, that I will be treated the same way I treat others. If I am acting with compassion and generosity and understanding, that will be reciprocated. And that's where I get caught up. That's where I get hurt, because it's not necessarily a realistic expectation on my part.
Okay.
When I have tried in my life to not ask of other people, to try to fill my needs myself. And when you're meeting your own needs, it's very easy to be generous with other people when you don't need anything from them. But at a time in my life where I did need help, I found that it wasn't forthcoming, that people saw me as this very strong, independent person who didn't need anything. And
Okay, so Barbara, I'm a little lost.
okay,
We're not in the role play yet. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay.
right.
All right.
This was my prelude to the.
Okay. All right. So could you, I put in the chat just a 3-word outline, because I really want people to try out kind of the NBC map
Okay,
of how you might, for yourself and to yourself. I'm not suggesting you go to the other person with this, okay?
oh yeah, I get it.
So I'm your friend, and so you're gonna start with the observation. So when I and you, or when you and I, when you did this, were you feeling because you need? Okay, that's
I'm
what
sorry, I didn't
trying.
quite follow that, Roberta.
You didn't follow it?
No,
Okay, all right, so let's just do it one at a time. So start with, you're rethinking what happened between you and your friend that you want to bring the energy of forgiveness to.
Maybe.
Yeah, well,
I
that's why,
may not be ready to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. that's why we're doing a role play here.
Right.
Exactly. Yes. So let's do it though, as if you are actually going to her and saying it
Okay.
in the role.
Yes.
And that is because the process of doing that can have an actual impact on how we are holding the situation.
Fine. Got it.
All right.
Okay.
So just start with observation. Tell me what I did when you did this.
I'm telling you as my friend what you did, what I
Yeah.
observed you doing.
Yeah.
Okay. I expressed a need to you to not spend time with other people, with other friends of yours, because I was concerned about COVID. And I didn't feel you or they were following the same protocols I was. And I was caring for somebody, an elderly person who was very sick. So I was concerned for their welfare. I felt that you prioritized your
Okay,
needs.
hold on. So you're now out of observation and telling
Okay.
her how you felt. And
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that. However, we're learning a different skill right now.
Got it.
So you came to me and said, please do not hang out with XYZ, because if you hang out with them, I can't hang out with you.
No, that wasn't it.
Okay. So
I
let
expressed,
me just say, that's why you want to learn this skill of observation. Just get clear about what happened and what did she do.
right.
Okay.
So I explained that I did not want to have dinner with her and another friend. I did not want to hang out with her other friend. And what I observed was that it was more important to her or to you.
Not okay. Now you're in evaluating.
Okay.
And this is like the first part of the NVC consciousness map, right?
Okay.
Is to really separate out your evaluation of her, your theories of her. You're going into part 2 of our practice tonight, which is, this is the meaning I made of what happened,
Okay.
which is important, and we're going to work with that. But that's second. Okay.
Okay. So I made a request of you, and you did not respect my request. That's
Again,
yeah.
it's an evaluation. That is the meaning you made. I really hope we can all see this, because this
No,
is
I understand
skills
that.
building. So you made a request. What were her words or her action? What did she respond?
I don't know how to answer your question without evaluating or telling you my response to it. What I saw her do was put her need, whatever that need was, ahead of me and ahead of my request.
Okay.
She wasn't respecting my request or me.
Okay. So you're telling us the meaning you made of her response.
Right.
What was her response? Look, until we can discern for ourselves, right, the difference between the meaning we're making of what people are doing and saying and what they're doing and saying, we don't have clarity about the situation. It's going to be very hard to reconnect.
Roberta,
Yeah.
I was in another NVC class. Somebody said to help us describe it as though you were taking a video of it.
Yes, that's exactly what Marshall said. That is now quite controversial.
Oh,
The whole other thing. because who, anyway,
Okay,
and
never
yes, that, well, and that's, yeah. But, so, here's what, let's try and do with this, Barbara. You're gonna be your friend. Okay? And you're gonna respond I'm gonna be you. And you're gonna respond with the response that she gave. So I don't want to have dinner with your friend because I'm concerned about COVID.
And I'm going to manipulate the situation so that I get what I need, so that you're going to meet this friend of mine, whether you want to or not.
Again, that's your analysis of what she did. What did she do?
Okay.
And I hope everybody's getting this, right? And
Yeah.
we can discern what somebody did from the meaning we make. We can't forgive them because we don't even see clearly what they've done. We're experiencing our own hurt. And I don't want to devalue that in any way. That's why I waited.
Mhm.
This is the fourth. Yeah, this is the fourth class. We spent like 3 classes really talking about our own feelings and needs, right? So, yeah.
Okay. What was your last question, Roberta?
So again, I'm Barbara. I don't want to have dinner with your friend because I'm concerned about COVID.
And so
You're the friend. What's
Okay.
what's the response?
the verbal response was, I'm trying to remember this. This was some time ago. It was something to the effect of, it's okay. He's got an elderly mother also. And I follow the protocol, and it doesn't really matter. It's okay if you just meet him. It's not going to hurt you. Those weren't the exact words. There was a lot more that wasn't said. It was more of a situation being manipulated. Again, this is my evaluation and what I saw
Exactly.
happen. Okay, and I'm getting how hard in this particular situation it is for me to separate what happened for my reaction to what happened, to my interpretation. So that's helpful.
Great.
See how hard a time I'm having with
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And this is often when Marshall Rosenberg was teaching us NBC, he would start with this skill. He saw this as kind of fundamental.
Right.
And I'm wondering, as you're seeing how challenging it is to separate out, does anything start to shift in you in relation to your friend? I'm just curious.
Yeah. What happens is that by taking a step back, no matter what the process is, by just taking a step back, it's helpful to it helps me disengage from the emotion. And that's a useful process. Without looking at all the terms, just by stopping. And the process is looking at what needs of mine are being met or not met, what needs of the other person are being met or not met. Those are helpful, but more helpful, I find, is just the process of not being caught in the moment or the emotion and looking at it. Just looking at it helps me detach from it. And that process is helpful.
Yeah. I that resonates with how NBC speaks to me also, that it's a mindfulness practice, it's an awareness practice. And this is how NBC fills in the content it pours into mindfulness and awareness. And I think that this particular skill, I could say for myself that when I notice I'm holding something towards someone, like I realize, wow, I have a lot of anger toward that person. When I do this particular process of sorting out what happened from the meaning I made of what happened from my experience of it, and not in any way to devalue my pain, but to actually learn from it. Wow. My whole history of, how I've been treated as a woman my whole life was like in there, and that's important and significant. And when I sort them out, I often start to get curious about, well, okay, what really was going on with the other person? And that is the energy that we're trying to generate here in this particular class series, right? Because it's the energy of connection and forgiveness. So,
Can I say something?
well, wait, 1 second.
Sure.
Where I want to go, just staying really focused on this for a moment. When she said to you, it's safe, don't worry, we all follow the protocols, right? Just because of what we're doing tonight in this class, what needs do you think she was meeting, needs of hers, by saying those words to you?
Want what needs of hers? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to try not to interpret. I'm trying to. Okay.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's safe. We all follow protocols. You're going to be all right.
The need of hers that she was trying to fulfill were for me to let go of my perspective and see things from her perspective.
So she wanted respect, you think, for her views? Is that what you mean?
Well, yes, but the overriding need of hers was for connection and respect and having self-value and having that reflected back to her by me and the other person. Got it. Good. Thank you. That's right.
So I'm just wondering also, I was hearing a need for trust. And I think that this was a need that really permeated, all of the fallout between families and friends over COVID, that, people were making radically different, still are making radically different decisions about how to be safe. And everybody wants trust that, what I'm doing is valid.
And I said to her, it's not a matter of whether I'm right or wrong, if she's right or wrong, or who's following the protocol and who's not. This is what my need is, and I need for it to be respected.
Yeah, so you had a need for respect and
not respect for me, but the fact that I had a request, and I needed that request to be respected, whether it was right or wrong, whether it fitted into anybody's cosmology. I just made a request. As a friend, I needed her to respect my request. That's it.
So if your friend respected your request, what need of yours is met? This is really important stuff to work with, this continuum of needs. You keep going until your heart opens to yourself and to her.
Well, when I just did that process just a moment ago, And I was able to express that she was looking for,
You said connection.
yeah, and being accepted, being validated, being expected, respected. That did help drop the anger. It did, and that was helpful, and I appreciate that.
Okay. Great. So where, staying with that energy of like the anger has dropped, because I just want to complete this process. What comes up for you in terms of forgiveness as a concept? Like, does it have any relevance? And the reason I'm asking is because I did this practice this week, and I found that forgiveness just, it didn't resonate with what was going on.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious, I'm asking you, like right now.
What I need in order to be able to forgive this other person
Mhm.
was for her to understand how what she did affected me and why I was so angry at her.
Okay, so what need of yours wasn't met that generated your anger? I think you just said it was
The need for my request to be respected.
So that's a strategy.
Okay.
So if your request was respected by her, what need of yours would have been met?
I needed for her to put I spent a lot of time putting her needs before mine, and I needed in this particular case for her to put my need ahead of her own.
Okay, and if
I
she,
needed for her not to be conscious and also to be not selfish. Now, that's an evaluation also.
yeah, I just want
Yeah,
to see how the
yeah.
meanings that you were making are affecting how you're approaching this. The meaning you're making is that she's selfish. The meaning you're making is that you've put your needs ahead of her needs before, right? And I'm not saying that they're false. I'm just saying, let's be clear that these are the meanings you're making of things, right?
Yes, yeah, it's good. It's helpful.
Yeah.
Because it's so automatic, you know, even when I
Right.
think that I'm being somewhat objective, I'm not. I'm still being very reactive. And it's
Right.
helpful to see that.
Yeah. And so self-empathy, of course, is what's needed, you know, and that's a great insight you had, that I'm still being reactive. That means that, wow, I need to really connect with the needs of mine that weren't met. Right.
I know this is stepping out of the role play for a moment. The situation that I find myself in is that I feel like I've been very understanding and compassionate with other people and giving to other people, and trying not to meet my own needs and not expecting other people to meet my needs. And in the process of doing that, at a time in my life when I did have some serious need, it wasn't being reciprocated. And I seem to have lost the ability to advocate for myself and advocate for my own need, because I haven't done that in so many years. I've tried not to have to do that. And so I feel like I've become a little bit of a spiritual wimp in not being able to
Yeah.
stand up for myself and advocate for myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's try. So we just did a demonstration of the process of one of the two processes I wanted to do tonight, which is going to the other person and say, when this happened, were you feeling a certain way because this is what you needed. Actually, I don't think I want to, you said that she was going for her need for connection. And can you imagine, I just want to go a little more into the needs she was meeting by choosing the strategy she was choosing of getting you and her friend together. Can you just for a moment imagine what would have been wonderful for her about the three of you being together?
She would have felt like she had two really good friends, which I don't know that she ever has, or for many years at the same time, that she, yeah, it was a way of, can't think of the word, but
Kind of celebrating something.
no, it was more like building her own self-esteem.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
and that's, I mean, she needs to do that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That moment, I didn't need her to do that at my expense.
Absolutely. And nonviolent communication is about us creating relationships where people are meeting their needs to do that, but not at the other person's expense. That's the whole point of it. So
But I did want to say that in separating a couple of moments ago, in separating my evaluation from what she was doing, from what was actually happening, and there was something that did shift. There was, in a helpful way.
great.
I was, yeah, more compassion was able, my compassion was intellectual. It wasn't a felt sense, and the felt sense came in during that process. I don't know how well I'm articulating this, but I wanted to thank you. It's, it's not a complete picture, but there was a moment of something changing, of something shifting.
Beautiful. And I want to emphasize that when we do these NVC processes, right, at each step, so if we start with observation, after we translate or transform a judgment or an evaluation into an observation, I think a great practice is to stop and notice, did anything shift? And to do that all along the way, because that's the purpose of doing any of this, right? Is to see if we can have shifts. And let me just say one more thing, and I know Yael might still be waiting to say something. Just as you're doing the process, right, you start to see, well, wait a minute, I'm not ready to go there because I still have anger, I still have hurt, I want to work on not being a spiritual wimp, as you said, right? So the parallel practice, the partner practice, is the one in the sheet that I sent out about making meaning. And I think this is also a great worksheet to use when we're trying to forgive another person. So it would be, and you could do it either in a role play with your empathy buddy, or if you really trust this friend and have a sense that they're willing to go with you into the mud, you could try it with them. So in this case, with your friend, it would be, and I'm just going to be you for a minute, Barbara, and you be your friend. When that happened around, that I said I didn't want to go out to dinner with so-and-so because of COVID, and you said it'll be fine. We're all following our own safety. When that happened, I made a meaning of that. And I wanted to check with you about whether the meaning I made of it is what was going on for you. So you're owning the meaning you made. You're owning your evaluation. And that's where you share. I think it probably has to do with, what's going on in my life now, that I have this sense that I'm always accommodating and I'm always bending over for other people and nobody's doing it for me. And so I was just feeling like really upset that I made a request and you didn't just say yes. And the meaning I made of it is that, you're not really respecting what's important to me. And I'm wondering how that is for you to hear me say that. And I've only done that with one or two other people, even though it's a practice I've been practicing for myself and in workshops for 10 years. So, it's a very vulnerable practice. And there's so much benefit to doing this with your empathy buddy or in a journaling session, because again, it's not only discerning the meaning I made of something from what happened, but it's bringing my own empathy to my response, right? Because we really want to hold our responses with empathy. And every time I do that process, by the time I get to, is that the meaning you made of it? The answer is always, well, of course not.
Right. Right.
So it's very healing.
I tried to, from the first class, I tried to do this with her and boil down for myself what I needed in order to be able to forgive her. And I told her I needed for her to understand what my experience was.
Wow.
And she wasn't able to do that. She's not somebody who's very, aside, this is my judgment, very self-aware. And yeah, she just wasn't able to. Yeah.
And so
I have a question.
yeah.
Do you think she possibly heard that as that you needed her to agree with you? Not just that to understand? Because lots of times I think people mix those two things up.
I agree. And that's why I said to her, it's not a matter of who's right or wrong or whose protocol is right or wrong. This was my request. I needed for you to respect me and honor my request, regardless of what the content of it was. But, you're right, that people do that. So I try to.
Oftentimes people can't understand unless they come around to your way of seeing it. So that the very fact that they don't agree can be a huge obstacle to understanding.
Right. I get that.
But that,
I specifically said to her, we don't have to agree on this. I just need for you to honor my request.
Yeah.
So what comes up for me is, what do you mean by forgiving? Because when you say what I need to forgive is for her to do this. What I'm hearing is that you're not connecting to what would be wonderful for you about forgiving. In other words, if forgiveness is a value, let's say, and let's put aside the word forgiveness and just bring back the NVC word of connection, right? If my need is for connection, friendship, ease, trust, right? And I am saying that the only way I could have any of those is if someone else does something. I think I'm giving away my power.
I hear that. I feel like I'm holding on to my power by doing that.
Okay. And yeah, exactly. By not forgiving.
I mean, having a good relationship, having everything be wonderful, of course would be good.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that I can expect that the person is going to be able to honor what I need. And
Yes.
I'm not going to be able to trust her and to want to be vulnerable with her again until I know that she has some understanding of me.
Yeah. Did you say that to her?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did.
Okay.
The
So,
thing is, it's, the new year is coming up. Can't we just forgive? That's it. She doesn't
right.
want to process
Okay.
anything. She just wants to forgive, which is all very nice. And I think it's because she doesn't, she has a hard time with the self-awareness thing.
Okay. So here's, in closing, wow, we're at
Yeah.
um, what I think would be worth trying, because I think it could really help,
Mhm.
is for you to think of a very specific request going forward that you could make of her that would meet your needs, the needs that weren't met. So it would be, well, how about if we go out and we don't include your friend? Let's just redo it, because that would help me help restore trust that we can have the kind of friendship I want. You know what I mean? In other words, something that Marshall Rosenberg always taught is that when we're telling someone what's important to us, and this is directly related to what you said, Yael, 100%. If we don't follow up our needs with a specific doable request to the other person, they won't know what to do. They will think that we're criticizing and judging them. Right? So this is another way of taking the power back, which is exactly what you said you want to do. So this is, again, another reason why the more we can stay clear and connected to the needs, the fundamental needs we want to meet, right? The more we can say, okay, in what happened, that's just, she's not willing to go back to that. So what can we create right now that will meet those needs? And I could try going forward.
That's beautiful, but that also assumes that I want to have somebody in my life who is not able to respect my request and is not willing to put my need occasionally ahead of her need. So I'm not so sure that I still want to
Can
be
I
a
say
friend.
something?
Sure.
What I wanted to say before
Yeah.
is that it may not be that duality that you are thinking in your head, that it's your need versus hers and all that. She might not be thinking in terms of this versus that at all. I feel like we can't imagine what we can't imagine. So like one time I don't remember what the circumstances were, but I really felt somebody had dissed me because they had blown me off and they hadn't responded, they hadn't answered my email, and I really felt like dissed. And I found out later that they had had a power failure and their internet went out. It was not at all what I was imagining, right?
Exactly. The meaning you were making of it.
Yes, that either they're responding to me, which means they respect me, or they haven't, which must mean they're that, and it turned out to be a technical problem. Like it can be something completely different than either this or that. But like we can't imagine what we can't imagine. It's not really helpful to remember that until after you see what it was, but people think along completely different lines than we do sometimes. And it's hard. Like, I mean, one time recently, my daughter said to me, "Why are you looking at me with such disgust?" And all that was going on is that I was struggling to find words in my head in response to something she said. I was trying actually to practice NVC and think carefully about my response because she had said something that was inflammatory and upsetting, and turned out later I had misunderstood what she said. She thought I was looking at her with disgust. I was just going like, oh God, what can I say? You know, and she interpreted it that way. And when we cleared it up, it was great.
Yay.
You just don't know what other people are thinking. Sometimes it could be
Absolutely.
completely different.
So
That's it.
Absolutely, which is why I tried to process it with her and ask what was going on for her. And because you're right, you never know until you ask. And even then,
Right.
maybe you won't know, but I agree with what you're saying. And that is why I try to process it with her.
yeah.
Anyway, thank
And
you all for your
Some people are
indulgence.
just
right,
not
so-
comfortable with processing. Also.
You're right.
That's right.
You're right.
That's right.
And what do you do when people are not open to
I have a lot
processing?
of trouble with that. I've lost a lot of
So-
friends where I
so-
didn't even know exactly what the problem was, but they won't talk about it.
So how I'd like to close our 4 weeks is to first of all encourage people to get into an NVC empathy group, because that's where you can process stuff involving people who don't want to process it with you.
Mhm.
That's just been a lifeline for me and so many people. And if people are
Can you connect us up with that?
yeah, send me an email. So I'm
Mhm.
just putting this out to everybody in the class. Send me an email if you want to be put together in an empathy group. And I'm happy to put that together or refer people to ongoing empathy groups. So yeah.
Okay.
And I just really want to thank everyone for going on this journey. It really helped me examine my reactions going into my birthday this week and the holidays. It's a very, fraught time.
It is.
And I'm just so grateful for the community, for the vulnerability of the sharing. And
Thank you, Roberta. You're
Yeah.
great.
oh,
Thank you.
you're welcome. I mean, I just want to really just have an appreciation for all of us going into very turbulent, challenging waters. I really, the whole time I've been having this image of like crossing the sea and, like the ocean, the waves are above our heads.
Yeah.
We're just trying to negotiate a new way of being in a really difficult time. So
Yeah. Thank you.
all. And I am going to do a class for Sukkot. I'm just going to do a 1-2 hour process.
Okay.
If people are interested, I'll send the info. So thank you all so much.
Roberta,
Thank you.
I want to thank you, but I also want to say that I've been doing the practice buddy thing, which has been very, very helpful. And if anybody who's here tonight wants to do that practice with me, I'm open to having another practice buddy.
All right.
I would
So-
like that.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So Shana Tova, everybody.
Shana Tova. And do the two of you have each other's emails?
No.
No.
What
Okay.
I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the chat my phone number, and you're more than welcome to call.
Roberta, I'm going to get it from you if that's
Okay.
okay, because I got to sign off and take care of
Yeah.
something in my kitchen.
All right. Me too. All right.
All right.
Everyone.
Happy New
Bye.
Year, Shana
Bye.
Tova, and
Shana
thank you.
Tova.
And thank you for your indulgence with me.
Oh, thank you for stepping forward.
Okay.
Really important. Thank you.